in a word, is awesome. It is literally a collection of attacker techniques and tactics used in the real world. So what Mitre did, and Mitre is a US government think tank, research organization, they researched thousands of actual attacks on IT systems, applications, infrastructure, IoT devices, etc., and documented 215 discrete techniques. And they organized them in various groups. And we've talked about some of those groups already: reconnaissance, exfiltration, privilege escalation, etc. But they don't just document the attacks; they also document mitigations that you can put in place for the attacks. But to me, the relevance and importance of the Mitre attack framework is it delivers to you exactly what an adversary is going to be doing to your infrastructure. And it allows you, by practicing or implementing some of these attack techniques, which is typically a red team activity, to build a lot of the defensive postures, blue team technique. So as you're building the products and services that run your enterprise, you can do so with that defensive mindset and a more secure mindset, and that's the purple teaming concept. So from an attack surface management perspective, you know, external attack surface management, all of the reconnaissance, the discovery, the credential access, that's what attackers are doing anyways, and that's what a good external attack surface management platform will do for you. A lot of the EASM platforms are implementing many of these 215 discrete attacker techniques that the Mitre attack framework documents. So, and the Mitre attack framework, by the way, is free. They've got downloadable assets. It's just a really useful, valuable.
Between EASM and digital risk protection, so, you know, DRP, some of the BAS stuff, and then you had mentioned one of your clients whose name shall remain silent to protect the innocent. But yeah, you had an interesting use case, and I think it was back from 2018, and maybe you could explain that use case to the group, and then maybe how you might do that differently for your client at this point, 3 years later.
Absolutely. As Paul put it in the right perspective, it was 2018, so that time no one had experienced this as remotely operating things, and people were still working off of the office. And yes, there were challenges, but the challenges in terms of number were relatively lower, because some of them were like not the known challenges, but the seen challenges. There were people you could see and you could know based on their behavior, but now you're treating with a complete unknown. You don't even know who the person connecting. If they don't turn their camera on, you don't know who's operating on the other side of things. So somebody might be working remotely, but you don't know who's really working on it. But to go into that use case, I think the use case we had done for a very large client of mine, and what we had done was they wanted to get an assessment done, and we did it on both sides. One from a external attack surface management, where we compiled a list of external assets and approached it from the outside with the external attack surface management to identify the list of discovery. And the other one was from the bottom-up approach, using more of a security architecture. And based on that, we tried to converge and come up with a point, and we added the third angle to that. Some of those external assets, we even had some deep and dark web scans, and some of the results were so surprising. And one thing which I found as a part of my research was almost 90% of the transactions happen in the dark web, in which we are not even aware. And a lot of people, they are just scratching the surface when they think that everything happens in the clear web. Well, so much work happens in the dark web that we are not even aware. And that use case helped the client show what's going on in the dark web, what's going on, what were their assets which were being exposed, which they were completely unaware of. That discovery helped clients know about some of the tools which they thought they were already no longer using it, but they still had ends open sitting on the internet. And as Ed rightly mentioned, right, means you can run a scan, you can try to find out and do the discovery but by the time you finish, you probably may have gone and added few more assets. So there's no way to go back. So that continuous part, which Ed was mentioning, is the key, because if you're not even aware what you added, then you have to wait for the next compliance scan, which you're going to do. So a lot of people just do it scan for the compliance reasons, so they can have that checkbox, and that's not going to be too useful if you're trying to be protective. Are you trying to be a protective, or are you just telling the attackers by putting out a sign that yes, I've done my due diligence? So are you doing it for due diligence, or are you doing it for proactive security monitoring of your assets? That's the key. And Paul, to say that how we would have done it differently, absolutely. Things would have been so much differently done had we done it right now. And I'm sure the results would have been very, very different.